Welcome to the 10-Minute Life Coaching Program. My name is Jay Clifton Payne. I train people for improved personal and professional development, offering my assistance for those ready to develop their goals into tangible, focused, and achievable plans of action. And this podcast is one tool that I use to complete that mission. And it works fairly simply. You just sit and listen to a podcast, and in 10 minutes, we will give you a lesson that you can take along for whatever you need to work on. You can use it for personal or professional development. They all are sort of interchangeable, but you can hear some words and a plan and some great actions you can add into your life pretty much right after the 10-minute mark of this podcast. And if you listen to a podcast, this one or any other one in the past, and you're hearing things that sound very familiar, very knowledgeable to you because they're the plan you have in action right now, then that's a sign that you're working on a pretty good plan. You just may need a little more time, effort, and seasoning to make it work out to your full advantage. More information on how I can help you maybe do that, check out 10minutelifecoach.com. So people are going to doubt your abilities whenever you try to push towards something new, something grand, specifically something that's a little bit out of scope, out of the eye view of what's going on. If something can't be seen, touched, or heard, people don't think it exists. Now, if you're an architect and you are a person who can look at designs and look at spaces and see things as they can be, and the people near you aren't quite on that level, you may have conversation issues with those people. And that's where things get a little rough when you're looking for support from people who don't quite get your vision, don't quite see the potential in the things that you see, and think sometimes that you might be just a little off, maybe a little crazy. These are the times you have to remember to do the things as best as you can until you can get a little bit better. Now, there are plenty of things that you will find in your journey towards your greatness that you're not quite ready for or don't sound like they're up to par to the other people who are already there. You will find people to emulate, people to look up to, people that you'll try to ape and copy their styles, their delivery, the things they're trying to do as you try to fake it till you make it. Because if other people can see how they have done it, someone who's been there, then maybe they'll understand you or get what you're doing. This is not necessarily a bad thing, but you're going to find along the way that you'll be quite a bit lacking. You won't have all the skill that they have. You can't have the skill they have. They've had a head start in learning the skill, in getting the contacts and making things work, and oddly enough, in failing, maybe even more than you have, but a lot more than you probably think about on the front end. They can tell you about the horror stories and things they've gone through and the things they've made their way through to learn from and the things they've made their way through just to clearly survive to go to the next level. Since you're not quite there yet, you've got a long ways to go. Maybe not so long ways to go, but you've got a ways to go to get to some level of proficiency, maybe some level of success, some level of knowledge, and of course, some level of either fame or notoriety. Sometimes the both are the both. Sometimes one is better than the other, and it's just a flip-flop, a coin toss on which one is actually the best for the situation. As myself, for an example, these aren't necessarily the best, the brightest, or the most awesome podcasts that have been created by man, but they are pretty good effort that are created by me. The 10-Minute Life Coach, as in this current iteration, was created to be simple, easy to listen to, easy to take in. Its initial response, its initial creation, was meant to be essentially simple and easy to take in, but there's a lot more production into it, a lot more writing into a lot more things going on, because I was trying to ape what other people were doing, but I was trying to do it in a different, specific way. And that way essentially stays the same. There is no big intro like there was in the days because, a big show has a big show voice and big intro and music and horns and things. So we dropped that. Just say the general open every single week, how you can get in contact with me, how this thing should work, and what you can do about that. Then I just give the lesson. And I'm done in about 10 minutes. Rarely do I go over 10 minutes for the actual lesson part. So you have that lesson in 10 minutes. I truly am a 10-minute life coach, even less because the opens are close to 60 seconds or so. And while there are a lot of things I could do to make these things, more polished, I can write a full script. I used to do that. I used to have a 5-page script for a 10-minute podcast. I can go through with extra production value. I can level out more things. I can take out more ums and ahs when I get stuck on things. But that doesn't make it any different. That doesn't really add to the value, I don't think. The response I get from people who listen to podcasts tell me the information is great. It's audible. You can hear it. It's clear. And sometimes the gaffes and mistakes do make me feel and sound more human. Definitely make me feel more human. It makes me sound more human as well. Now let me make sure I get one thing straight. These are not all complete rambles and one-take recordings. There is some trimming here and there, and as things go along, if I truly stumble on something, I will stop and back up the tape and go forward. But I'm not worried about a lot of extra post-production. I'm not listening to it 4 or 5 times to eliminate every single and every dead spot in the podcast, because that way it sounds like a normal person doing a normal conversation in the podcast. I take the topic idea, I take the notes I have, the bullet points, I go down them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sometimes I circle back if it sounds like I need to, and just do that. I've stopped trying to work on a big hour-long presentation for the 10-Minute Life Coach because it's meant to be 10 minutes. This is what I can do. I can take a simple idea, break it down into usable points, and give it to you in a quick and easily digestible amount of time. 10 minutes. If you don't like what I'm saying within 2-3 minutes, you're going to turn it off anyway. So why would you stick around for 60 minutes of rambling when I can just get to the point and tell you what's going on real easily and quick? Want more information, want to go deeper, you just contact me and we can go from there. If you want to get into some other materials that do go deeper, that happens as well. There are other places that I have other materials or expanded materials for things. But this is meant to be very simple. This is something I can do. And while it may not be as polished as some of the other thought leaders and motivational people out there, it works. I'll work on more things that are video-like, but video takes time, video takes effort, video takes being in a spot with lights and usually a team of people. This is simple. I can hit record. I can record from pretty much anywhere I want to, and I can make this thing work. We can have this conversation, although it is sort of one-sided coming out to you, but you can respond to this in various ways, and it works. And we've gotten over 130 of these things just like this. Some of them were much more rough way back in the day, but we worked it out. Things are going well, and we get pretty good response from people out there who like what's going on, and a few from people who aren't exactly thrilled with how things go and want things to get better. People who don't really care, don't respond, so we're not so worried about them. But this is something that I can do and something I make happen. For you, you may not be turning out the content as great as the people you emulate. You may want to be an artist and you don't see your drawings looking quite like they do in the comic books. You might want to be a singer and all you're getting are gigs at bars when the good groups aren't getting in. You're obviously not hitting a long time tour for the nationwide stage and nobody's calling you to sing backup for anybody famous. But you've got to get there. It's going to take a little time. It's going to take a little effort. And right now, even though it sucks to say enjoy the journey, you've got to enjoy the journey. You've got to get into the learning. You've got to be a part of the process and really, 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 really dig into how things work, how things get better, and enjoy the process of building up from the bottom to as high a top as possible. Because all of us aren't going to get there. That's the sort of dirty secret in personal and professional development. There's only so many spots to be the number one person, but you can get much, much higher than you would expect by working towards that big goal. But you have to work towards it. You've got to take the time to get there. You've got to embrace the suckage of some of your work on the early end, but you also have to embrace the fact that you do what you do, you get what you get, and you put in as much as possible you can do, even when those around you are thinking what you're doing isn't quite worth the effort that's going into it. And that is our podcast for this week. Thank you so much for joining us on the voyage that is the 10-Minute Life Coach. If you want to find out how you can make contact with me so that maybe together we can do a great collaboration, I can help you get someplace you want to go. And with you, any person I talk to is a learning experience. visit 10minutelifecoach.com. That is a website dedicated to this podcast and things about this podcast and, of course, ways to make contact with me. You can always email me at jclevelandpayne@gmail.com. Working on reestablishing the more professional email that was out there, but just got to where I was checking this one and everything kind of goes to it. So it may take a while for me to get to it, but not too long, I promise. It's a little spammy because everything drops into this bucket, to be honest. And my main website is jclevelandpayne.net. All the things and projects that I supposedly am working on, that doesn't quite get as updated as it ought to, but everything is listed there. Now, I have got to do a little bit of selling here outside of what I've been selling lately, and that is the $10 Life Coach option is coming. And if you haven't been listening to the podcast, that's going to be a community where we can get together and help each other. I'm asking for a little bit to chip in so we can keep the doors open, if you will. But that's going to be coming very, very soon. That's something that has to come. I'm also looking to take on some clients, some from one-on-one clients. You can find information on that at my websites as well. And look out for some other big things that are happening this year. Of course, at the end of last year, I released my third book in the Welcome to Your Monday series. That's also a series, a thing that comes out every single week that you can get a little motivation and thought on. And you can find information on that at my websites. But we're going to produce some, we're going to produce some very detailed content in the upcoming year that's going to help you get off of whatever's holding you back, get off your butt essentially, and get things going. So coming up very soon, we're going to relaunch the Better You in 52 program. We're going to do some other things along those lines. And all of us together are going to get that much better for this upcoming year and the next year and the next year and the next year. I have a goal, I have an initiative to really get everything kind of lined up and targeted and focused, and make sure that what I'm putting out there isn't just sort of willy-nilly as it sort of gets done, but based on a real plan of action and really getting things better. So next 52 weeks, I'm getting better, and hopefully you'll want to do that with me as well. And here's the kicker. We're going to offer up to the people listening to this podcast right here in the time frame that it's been originally released, for absolutely nothing. It'll be free. So you get a chance to go through a coaching program that will hopefully get you to a better place, because sometimes these coaching programs work better than others. Sometimes people just fall out and just can't keep up with it. Sometimes you need somebody a bit more drill sergeant-y than I am. I'm going to give you a shot to come into this one. You don't have to worry about any cost. We're going to do it together, and as we work on it, something doesn't work, you let me know. We tweak it and keep on going. And we'll charge the next batch for the extra effort. How's that sound? So look for that to come out very, very, very soon. And look for another episode of this podcast come out so soon, just 7 days or so from now, here from me, J. Cleveland Payne, and the 10-Minute Life Coach.